Hello and welcome to my channel, Miss Dee Dee's Holistic Delights. Today we're going to be making some nutritious food with some wonderful health benefits. See the description for more. We're going to do chicken that's seasoned with turmeric and ginger. We're going to have our side vegetables of broccoli, carrot, and sliced onion. Then we're going to have farro, which is a whole grain, and we're going to cook that with some mushrooms and some garlic. So sit back, relax, and join me for some fun in the kitchen. So the first thing we're going to do is prep all our vegetables and all of our seasonings. So let's get to it. So the first thing we're going to do is cut our 2 carrots. Now, make sure your hands are tucked away. We're just going to cut the tops off. 1, 2. Don't throw these away. This is good for vegetable stock. Cut off the tip. And cut off the tip. So since we're going to do this with broccoli, I decided I'm going to do them in half moons. So we're going to put this back and make this even cuts so it's easier to cut. Put that to the side. Then we're going to put our fingers on each side, cut it in half. Now we have our half moons. Good so far, right? Easy peasy. Keep our fingers tucked. I'm going to cut through. You always want to make sure you have a really sharp knife. If you don't, makes the job twice as hard. And I think we got like 2 more cuts in this one, and then 2 more cuts in this one. Well, 3. All right. Oops, this one ran away. Okay, we're going to cut this one in half and do the same thing. Repeat the process. So when you prep, it's easy because all you have to do is come back and add the ingredients that you're looking for, as opposed to doing this in the middle of cooking. Okay, I think we might only need 1 carrot. And I know my dogs will be happy because they love eating carrots, so they'll get to have treats. So we're going to keep cutting this, keeping our fingers tucked. I'm going to start doing just this one because we're getting down kind of low. Okay. And then this last one. We got 1 little piece. All right, that's all our carrots. Okay, now we're going to move on to our broccoli. One thing I want to say is we always want to try to get organic. That way we don't get all those nasty pesticides on our foods. But, you know, sometimes it can't be helped. Times are hard financially. I get it. It's hard for me as well. So if you can't get organic, just make sure you wash your vegetables very well. What I usually do is just take my vegetables, especially my broccoli. I set it in crowns down in some cold water and baking soda and let it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then give it a good rinse. And I clean all of my vegetables and fruits with baking soda water. So that's just a little tip. Now I'm just going to use the broccoli crowns for my vegetables, but the stock is good in nutrients and makes a lovely vegetable stock. So you're just going to hold your crown upside down, and you're going to go in at an angle and cut. Now, as you can see, my knife is going through here pretty easily because it's razor sharp. So you just want to make sure you always cut away from your body and not towards your body if you can help it. Okay, we're just going to keep rotating it around, making sure to keep our fingers out of the way because we want to have all our digits at the end. So just bear with me as I turn it some more. You can see this makes pretty quick work. Oops, runaway broccoli. All right, I think we pretty much got all the crowns. Yep, and first one was growing inside, so I'm just going to pop that one like that. All right, so this stock is going to go over here for our pile for our vegetable stock. Now, we have nice little bits, and then we have some not so little bits. So for the ones that are larger, you can cut through and then cut through again. And then you have like a bite size. And if you see the other one is still too big, just go ahead and cut through it. So we are going to do that. I'm going to cut some more of this stalk off of this one on my stock pile. And just keep working your way around. Okay? Just like that. Easy peasy, right? Okay. I'm going to continue working on this and put you on pause when I'm done because it might be a couple of minutes. So we're done cutting, and as you can see, they're all kind of bite-sized, so that way you don't have a big chunk of broccoli in your mouth when you go to eat. I'm going to transfer these over to a bowl, wipe this down, and then we'll get started on our mushrooms. So here are my mushrooms. I have some fresh shiitake and cremini mushrooms, and creminis are just the baby Bella mushrooms, and I'm wiping them off with a damp cloth. These are pretty clean. The stem is a little dirty, so we're gonna get rid of that one. But you just want to give them a good cleaning. We don't want any dirt because remember, mushrooms grow from the dirt or side of a tree really low to the ground, so we want to make sure we get rid of all that dirt and we're not eating any of it. Okay. The other thing I wanted to say is you can buy your vegetables pre-cut, but just remember it will cost more because you are paying for the process of someone else doing the work. On this one. Got it. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to do that, I'm very picky when it comes to my food, so I like doing it myself. And we're almost done with the shiitakes. And what we're going to do with the shiitakes is just give them a rough chop. Nothing too extravagant, just a rough chop, just so you get pieces in with your farro. So first thing I'm going to do is cut off the stems. Stems are kind of woodsy. I'm going to save this for another dish. I'm going to be using it to I have quite a bit of mushrooms actually. So I'm going to be taking the stems to make a mushroom stock. So I'm just cutting the stems off so that I can use them in my stock later. So I'll put that over to the side. Now, if you don't want to make stocks, you can always use this for a compost for your garden. What we're trying to do is minimize food waste. Okay, so we're just going to take these, hold on, move these over to the side. And yeah, you can see me. So I'm just going to give it a nice little cut. That wonderful rocking motion, keeping your fingers out the way. Now that we have it sliced, I'm just going to go through and probably cut it in half. No, in thirds probably. 1, 2, and that's our size. So see, they're going to be about this size. So that way, when they cook down, they'll be slightly larger than the farro, but it is still all fit on the same vessel when you're eating, and it makes it convenient. So we're just going to keep on cutting and get these into those little sizes. So I don't know about you all, but when I'm cooking, I like to have some music going or something like that. Today, I don't get to have any music going because it's the weekend and my husband is home and my dogs are with their dad on the other side of the kitchen. So I can't play the music because if I play the music, they'll come and disturb me. So I'm trying to be as quiet as possible so they don't come. But if you want to turn on some music and, you know, jazz out, rock out, whatever music you want while you're cooking, that's good. It always puts me in a good, happy mood. And one of the things that I love doing is cooking for the people that I love and seeing their reactions to my food. So just something to think of. I don't like this. So we're going to take this one to the sink as it has a little bit more discoloration on it, should I say, that I don't like. All right, and another towel. There we go. It looks better now. Yeah, I didn't like that discoloration it had on the top. See, it's gone. That lets you know there's always something that can change while you're cooking. The trick is not to panic and just pivot. Okay, so we have all our shiitakes cut up. We're going to take them and put them in this little vessel and they'll be dry. I've gotten our cremini or baby bellows and taken the stems off. You want to get the little gills out from under there because that holds a lot of dirt. You just take a spoon and scrape the gills out. That might not have been the best one to demonstrate on since it was so tiny. Let me get a larger one for you. So you see these are gills and they can trap dirt. So we want to scrape those out because we don't want any dirt in our food. Although we want minerals, we don't want dirt. So we're going to go in and clean those out before we chop those. So we just go around in a circle. And it's okay if they tear because we're going to cut them. We're not going to stuff them. If I was going to stuff them, I would be a little bit more gentle. But because I know I'm going to chop them, I really don't care if they fall apart. But we would do it gingerly like so. A little bit more time, I'll get it and I'll show you. See, gills are gone. We'll just keep doing that until we get all of them clean. Okay, I got those all cleaned out, and now we're just gonna chop these pretty small because they're going to cook down. They're going to release a lot of water. So we just kind of want them in bite-sized pieces. This recipe, well, it's not really a recipe, it's a dish. And if you cannot get fresh mushrooms, you can use dried mushrooms. If you can't get shiitake or cremini, baby bellas, you can use any mushroom that you would like. Also, if you don't like mushrooms, you don't have to push mushrooms in there. It just gives it more nutrients to the farro. Because remember, the mushrooms are going to go in the grain dish. So we're going to have the garlic and the mushrooms in the farro. So this is just going to give it more flavor and more nutrients to the dish. But again, if you don't like it, you can put something else in it. You can put peas in it. But I'm going with the mushrooms, but you always have other choices that you can put in the dish. That's what I love about cooking. It's not set in stone. You can always adjust to your own tastes. Except if you're cooking for a client, then you kind of have to go by what the client likes. But for the most part, cooking is very flexible and pretty much forgiving. You can bring almost anything back as long as it's not completely burnt. So we're almost done with these. I hope you guys are enjoying it so far, although we're just prepping, not really cooking just yet. we're almost done with all our prep. The last thing, well, the second to last thing will be the onions and the garlic, and then we'll prep our meat and season it. What I did do is I did give it a salt brine so that it is juicier, because I'm cooking with chicken breasts. But if you were doing thighs or another dark meat that has more fat, you don't really have to do it. A brine is always helpful, but because it's a breast and breasts dry out pretty quickly when you cook them, I decided to brine it. And I did that before the prep work because I brined it for about an hour and a half, so it'll be ready to go by the time we finish our prep. So the brine has been drained off, and it is just waiting to be completely pat dried and then seasoned. So this is all of our mushrooms going in. You always want to keep your station clean, so there's a lot of washing of utensils, a lot of washing of your hands, a lot of washing of your knife and your board now, just to make sure everything is nice and clean. The other thing you want to make sure is that you don't cross-contaminate. So if you've noticed, I'm doing all the vegetables first, and the last vegetable I'm doing is the onion and garlic. This is so those flavors don't transfer into anything else that I didn't want those flavors in. And then we will do the meat, and I will change out this board. So I think I will do the onion last because I don't want to cry just yet. So I have 2 fairly large cloves of garlic. I'm going to give them a good whack, and another good whack, and then we're going to peel it. I just cut my nails, so I don't have a lot to peel it with, so just bear with me. We're going slowly. We got it. Ooh, I bruised that pretty good, didn't I? I'm going to have to cut that off. That gives a good point though, when you have things like that. It's bruised, so you can still use it. You would just cut it off. You're going to hold it pretty steady and just slice this part off. Now the ugly bruised part is gone into the compost, and we can still use this one. So I'm going to cut off this dry end because it's not really edible. It's kind of tough. And we do that on both of these. Roll it like this so I can get it. Okay. Into my compost. Then we're just going to cut these in slices. Okay, now that we have those in slices, we're going to gather these together and start to mince them up. This is going to probably be about a tablespoon. So just go back and forth with your knife, cut them up smaller till you get the desired size. Scrape down your knife, get back in a pile, and continue with your mincing. Now I have my hand, my guide hand on the top because I'm moving the blade back and forth, and this is just so that the blade doesn't go everywhere, and I can guide it and keep it on the board as I pivot around. It's also a safety. I won't cut my fingers because if my hand doesn't have anything to do, it might end up on the board, which we do not want. And I don't know if any of you have ever cut yourself, but if you have with a sharp knife, you know it's not something nice, because usually when you do it with a sharp knife, you don't know immediately. It's always when you put like some lemon on something or go into soapy water and you feel that burn. So we want to avoid that. So we're just going to keep our fingers out of the way so that we can get this minced up. Now I don't want a super fine mince, I just want a mince. Now one of the things that I'm doing this ahead of time is because garlic's health benefits takes time for it to release. So if you just cut it and put it in your meal, it doesn't really have time for those benefits to build up and be very helpful. So if you do this in advance and let it sit, almost marinating your garlic, if you will, you get those wonderful health benefits. So that's what we're doing. Now, if you wanted, you could make it into a cream. Again, I don't want it into a cream because this is going to go in my farro, and I want to have some of the bite of the garlic throughout, not just the flavor of it. I just want to be able to bite into some garlic. I know I'm weird. I love garlic, and I love it when you bite into a piece of garlic after it's been cooked, because it's kind of sweet, but it still has that wonderful flavor. It's just so good. So I still want a little bit of that. So that's why I'm not getting it into a paste, but you could do it in a paste if you just wanted the flavor and not have the chunks of the garlic. Again, this is however you want to make it. These are just the ingredients that are going into it. Okay, that's looking good. I think we're just about there. I'm going to scrape down my knife one more time to see if there's any big bits, but I think we're done. Yep, we're done. So I'm going to put this in a little container and then be right back. Now our final prep before our chicken. It's the wonderful thing that we all love to cut an onion because it makes us cry. So what I have found that helps me not to cry as much is if I store my onion in the refrigerator before I'm going to work with it. So I usually do it a couple hours before or the night before, so it's nice and cold. And make sure that my knife is super sharp. Is that a level? Okay. And I cut some of this onion for, I don't even know what I used it for now, but for something else the day before. So it's a little dry, so we're going to peel off the dry bits because it won't cook down as good, and that will make for a not so pleasant mouthfeel when you're eating. I'm getting tongue-tied today. Rinse that off, and what we're going to do is cut them in slices because this is going to go with our broccoli and carrot. So it needs to have some size to it. So we're just going to cut it. Let me turn it this way, that way you can see it better. All that in. Use our board scraper to get this down and not cut my fingers. I am going to take these pieces out because this is a older onion and this is the part that will grow out and make the green top, and I don't want that, so that's going to go in the compost. So this is our onion. Just going to break them up a little bit. Put them in here. Ready to start with our chicken. And what we're going to do with the chicken, we're just going to season it up. We're going to pat it dry first, and then we're going to season it up so that when we put it in our pan, we'll get a nice sear on it. If it's not dry, it won't get a good sear. It'll be kind of soggy instead, and we want that nice sear on it. It also looks so much prettier when it's nicely seared. You get that nice golden coloration on it. So that's what we're going for. So I'm just going to continue breaking up the onions, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to move it a little So you can see the chicken has a little bit of a yellow tint to it. I put salt, ginger, and turmeric in the brine, and I let it soak for about a half an hour. I mean, not a half an hour, hour and a half, sorry. So what we're going to do now, because we want that sear, we're going to pat it. I have 2 sets of paper towels underneath it, and I'm just going to pat it with a paper towel to get it nice and dry. The paper towel underneath is going to grab all the moisture from the bottom while we use this to pat the top. Normally I would have gloves while doing this because I don't like raw chicken touching me. It just kind of grosses me out. But my new order has not arrived yet. So we're just going to pat it down, get it nice and dry. Okay. And you can tell when it's dry, you'll see the sheen like disappear. And I think we got about all of them. Now this is not going into compost. This is going into trash. So into the trash we go. And even though my hands did not touch the chicken itself, I'm going to wash them again because you can never be too safe. Okay. Hands are nice and clean. Dry them off. And then we'll come over here to our chicken. So we are going to add some pepper to it. This is my pepper meal. A friend of mine loves this little meal. She teases me about it. But because I'm working with my hands, it's just easier to do one hand, especially if you get one hand dirty, you can just turn it over with one hand and still season it. So I love these automatic pepper meals. I also have the salt one. So I'm gonna put a little salt on there. Okay. Now, I'm only putting a few things on this chicken, again, because I want the flavor of the chicken to come out, but I also want the health benefits of what I'm putting. So again, we're going to go on with a little turmeric. This is going to give a wonderful color when it sears. And as you can see, I'm seasoning from a roughly high height. Okay, and then we're going to do ginger. Now my ginger holes are a little smaller, so it takes a little while to get it out, but we're going to do this. Okay, so I'm going to keep the top off of these because when it goes in the pan, this is going to be our presentation side. So when this goes in the pan, this is going to be our presentation side, and it'll get a great sear. And while this is on the pan searing, the other side will be up, and we'll season it at that time. So my camera can only fit, my kitchen's really small, so normally I cook everything at once, but I don't have a camera going. So since I have a camera going, I'm going to do one dish at a time. So the first thing we're going to start off with is the farro. So I prepped my stove. In the back is my stock. Let's see, my vegetable stock. I don't know if you can see. Oh, the vegetable stock that I made, but you can also use a pre-bought. Just try to get organic if you can. If not, that's fine. And here's my pan that I'm going to start my farro in. I'm going to be using a cup of farro and 8 ounces of cremini mushrooms and 8 ounces of shiitake mushrooms and 2 cloves of garlic. So let's start, shall we? First, about 2 tablespoons of a good quality high heat oil. I'm allergic to avocado, so I can't use it, but if you're not allergic, please feel free to use it. It does bring out a wonderful flavor. I just wouldn't be able to eat it. So I'm going to use olive oil. And oh, I keep forgetting to show you the water test to tell you when it's hot. Well, it's hot. You can see the oil is skating across the pan. But before you do that, you heat the pan and you test it with water to see if it's warm enough. Now, I don't want to put my garlic in just yet. I'm going to start with my mushrooms. And the reason why I didn't put my garlic in first is because the high sugars that are in the garlic would cause it to burn. So I'm going to get this started with the mushrooms and then add my garlic. Just going to set that in. Get my ladle ready for my stock. And your stock doesn't need to boil, it just needs to be warm. So I'll turn that down low. Next, I'm going to add in some salt. And for this one, I'm using my Celtic sea salt. It's the gray salt. And we're going to use a full 5-finger pinch of salt and put that in, just so that the mushroom can start releasing its natural liquids. Let's see. Still not ready. There we go. They're starting to release now. So we are doing this risotto style. We are not making an actual risotto. We're just cooking the farro risotto style. So say that 5 times, right? We are cooking the farro risotto style. We are cooking the farro risotto style. Now that we have the mushrooms sweating a bit and they're releasing their wonderful liquids, we can now add in the garlic. So just make a little well, add the garlic in, and stir it in. I am also going to add in about a teaspoon of Italian seasonings. Now this would be your aromatics if you had fresh herbs. So putting in about a teaspoon. Give that a little bit of a stir, toss it, and it's cooking fairly quickly. And at least it seems that way because it's the mushrooms. The mushrooms release their liquid pretty quickly. While that's going, let's get our While that's going, let's get our farro measured out. We're going to do a cup, but I'm going to use 2 half cups because my dry measuring cup for a cup does not fit in the container for the farro. So we have half a cup. We'll put another half a cup in just a moment. All right. Okay, so at this point I'm going to add my cooking wine. If you didn't have cooking wine, you don't have to do it. You can just use the stock. But I have a little bit of cooking wine left, so I'm going to use it to clear up space in my refrigerator. It's about a quarter of a cup. And my bottle goes in my recycle. And then we put this down. Now that the heat is pretty well evened out on this pan, we're going to lower it to a medium high. Add our cup of farro. Then our fun will begin as we begin to ladle. Put my farro to the side. And I'm stirring because I want to make sure that everything is fully coated, so you don't have any spots that are bland or does not have the seasoning. am going to add a pinch of black pepper. With my pepper mill, that's once, twice, 3 times around. Okay. It smells very lovely. And I'm not sure if you can see deep down, the liquid's almost completely evaporated. And when it's at this stage is when you want to ladle in your liquid. So I'm going to ladle in my stock. If you don't have stock, you can use water. You can use whatever you like. You can use vegetable stock. I'm using vegetable stock because I'm trying to make this plant-based and not use any animal byproducts in the risotto. The only thing that's going to be animal is the meat protein from the chicken, just because it's my papa's favorite. So I forgot to say this video is dedicated to my papa. He's not feeling too well and I'm really far away. I'm in Mississippi and he's in California, and whenever I visit him I cook for him. So I'm making this on this video, and then I'll talk to my papa and the family later and see if they want me to walk them through making this meal for him. But this is dedicated to my papa. So we're going to get some nice farro that is cooked like risotto that's going to taste divine. But the farro grains, the whole grains, have such wonderful health benefits. And for all the health benefits of the ingredients, look in the details. And if you find that it's not listed, you can always reach out to me via comment and I'll get you that information as soon as possible. Okay, that's looking good. Let's see. I think, do I want to start? No, because I'm going to put the vegetables in there. We're just going to keep cooking. Funny story, a friend of mine loves risotto, but if you make it the traditional way, it can be quite full of calories. It has flavor as well. So she is a godsend and has been encouraging me ever since I started the program and my process to become a certified chef. And we learned how to make a risotto that isn't quite as calorie driven, and she loved it. But I also told her she can make mushroom risotto, which is her favorite, using farro. So for my lovely friend, you know who you are, this is the farro risotto. So just follow these steps and you have your farro risotto. The risotto process is not a short step. It does take time, so just be patient. What you're doing is letting the liquid be absorbed slowly over time. This is what builds up the starchiness that gives you that creamy texture when you're making risotto using the rice. The starch is released slowly and creates that creamy texture. With farro, you won't get that creamy texture because it's a whole grain, but you still will get that wonderful umami flavor throughout the dish. And once again, when we see we barely have a little liquid, we are going to go ahead and ladle in some more. I'm using 2 ladles per, and it looks like it might be 3 ounces of liquid each time, so I guess 6 total. Just ladle it in and keep going. The next thing we'll do is the vegetables. I'm not starting the vegetables now because I'm going to steam them using my big pot over there, and if I put a big pot behind this won't cook evenly because my stove is kind of small. So it would push this off and this wouldn't cook evenly. So we have to wait until this is done, and then we can steam the vegetables and then move on to the chicken. The fish I will record probably tomorrow because I'm getting kind of hot. So we'll do the fish part tomorrow. It's going to be the same process as the chicken, and you would sear it and use those same steps, but I want to show you the process and the coloring of the salmon. So we are about halfway the process. The whole process takes about 25, maybe 30 minutes. If you push it, you could do it in 20, but a good risotto, you take your time. So we're going to give it a taste. Oops. What I like to do is take a spoon, dip it in, and then blow, and transfer it to my pan before tasting. Now, I can tell you just by tasting, the seasoning is there. However, the grain still has quite a bit of ways to go. So, we're just going to keep ladling in the liquid until we get there. But halfway through the cook, so if it's going to take 30 minutes, 15 minutes in, you want to check to see where you are, mainly with your starch and the flavors. Now, if this was the rice, you could see that it was starting to become opaque, where you can almost kind of see through it. But because this is a grain, you can't see that. So it's really imperative that you taste it from time to time. So we just tasted it at 15 minutes. We'll give it another 5 minutes or so and taste it again. But we're going to ladle in 1 ladle. 2 ladles. If you run out of stock, don't panic. You can just use water. You will just have to make sure that you taste your seasonings to see that they're still on point, because since you're using water and the water isn't seasoned, unless you season your water, the flavors may become a little bit diluted. So a little bit about me. I started looking into holistic cooking probably 3 years ago now. I was diagnosed with degenerative disc disorder, which is basically a fancy way of saying your discs are kind of compacting on themselves. And I wouldn't mind that so much because with age, these things come, but I have chronic pain. And they gave me medication, and the medication was great, but because it's going to get progressively worse, I didn't want to be on pills for the rest of my life. So I started looking into things that I could do naturally to help out. And that's when my roots of being in Mississippi kicked in. My mom used to make us all kind of teas and soups and herbs and things when we were kids, instead of taking us to the doctor for every little thing, and we would heal up. And so my husband, wonderful husband that I have, agreed to move to Mississippi. And from the moment we got here, it was like it all came flooding back. And as I was doing this, I was thinking to myself, I have family members and friends that suffer with chronic pain and inflammation and things. So I'm going to see about, becoming a holistic chef, because they all have said that they love my cooking and I should open a restaurant or something. So I found the program through Bowman College to become a holistic chef remotely, which worked out perfectly. So I'm halfway through the process, and I'm very excited, and I'm happy that I went down this route, because I've learned so much more than the stuff that I already knew. So this meal has a lot of ingredients that will reduce inflammation and that are antifungal, antimicrobial, that it's good for digestive health, heart health, lowers cholesterol, things of that nature. So this is an all-around healthy food. the, I should say, a food dinner. The only item that doesn't have all the holistic properties like the others is the chicken. But again, my papa loves the chicken. But you can do salmon. Salmon is really good. It has the omega-3s in it, and it has health properties. So again, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not saying throw away your medication and just start eating this way. But there are some things that can help. But before you change anything in your diet, check with your doctor, because a lot of these things can have some interaction with your medication, and it could either cause it to over release your medication. Like if it's on a time release basis, it could cause it all to release at the same time. There's a bunch of things that could happen. So make sure you talk to your doctor before you change anything. Now, of course, if you eat these things just one time, it's not a big deal because it's just a meal. But if you start using it as a homeopathic substitute to taking medications, talk to your doctor. I can only speak on my story and what my journey has been. But again, I was just starting my medication. It's not like I've been on medication for years. But do follow up with your doctor and see what your doctor says. My doctor said it was fine because I had just started taking my medication and it really wouldn't do anything. And I have my meds still for breakthrough medication. So if I'm having a really bad day and I'm in severe pain, I do have meds for breakthrough. But for the most part, it's been working really good. You know, arthritis is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And it has a mind of its own. Some days it's very mild, other days it's dilapidating where I can't get out of bed. So again, before you change anything, talk to your doctor. But these are good recipes just to eat if you want something nice that's nutritious. All right, it looks like we're about ready to add another ladle of liquid. I can tell by the grains, because I've cooked with this before, they're not quite ready to open. If you want it to shorten the time, you could soak your farro overnight and then rinse it really good. It will absorb some of that liquid and it won't take it so long to cook. But then again, it's already absorbed some of the liquid, so it may not get that umami flavor that you're looking for. But if you want to shorten the time, you can soak it. I don't mind taking my time cooking. This is what I love doing, so it doesn't bother me taking the long route. But there are shortcuts that you can do. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out in a comment and I'll be happy to answer your question. I just gave another quick taste and it is really good. And if you look, you can see the farro is starting to plump up ever so little. See? It's starting to plump up a little bit. That lets you know it's cooking. It's just about ready. So we just need it to plump up a little more. And after we're done with this, we will steam our vegetables. And then we will move on to our chicken. I'm going to try to add a jazzy or chill music underlay because I know there's a lot of blank dead air in this video because I'm concentrating on the risotto, not the risotto, the farro. Well, it's a risotto style farro, to make sure it does not stick, it does not burn, and that it's incorporating the liquid but not at a rapid pace. So sometimes I forget that I have the camera on and I forget to talk, so there's a bunch of dead air that we need to do something with. So it's been about a total of maybe 25, maybe it might be 30 minutes. But because it's farro, it's not quite done yet. You see? Not quite there, almost, but not quite. So we're going to put another ladle in and let it continue to cook. It smells divine though. And we're going to let it continue to cook. But I think what I'm going to do is ladle these in and move it to the other side so that we can start our vegetables. How's that sound? Sounds good? Okay, let's do that. So I've decided not to steam the vegetables because I still have some stock in here. So I'm just going to add my onions in and let them go for a bit. Just to soften them up. Let's see, I need to move this closer. There we go. Yeah, you can see it. And you can see I still have the farro going in the back. It's just about done, so I transferred it to the back. That smells so good. So the onions with the vegetable stock, it's giving off this wonderful scent. The aroma of the onions, it's kind of like when you grill the onions or saute the onions and that smell comes to the house and it just makes you hungry instantly. That's what's going on with me right now. We're going to add some pepper. You don't need to add any salt because I had added salt to my stock. Now we're going to add the carrots. Carrots are firm, so I'm putting them in next because they'll take longer than the broccoli. The broccoli just needs to steam up a little bit. And let's pivot to the risotto. I keep calling it risotto, the farro, but it's farro risotto because it's cooked risotto style. But you can see that it's getting a creamy-like texture. It's not as creamy as risotto made with rice, but it still has that creamy texture. It's just the slowness of cooking and the starch opening and releasing because the farro is opening and some of that starch is coming out. So it's just really nice alternative. Instead of doing rice, you can do farro. To get that whole grain benefit. So now I'm just going to cover that up and let it stay on low because that's done. I just need it to absorb the rest of the liquid. This is pretty good. And I couldn't remember the name of the rice for the risotto for my life, and then I just went in my pantry and saw it's Alvario. So I couldn't remember the name of the rice to make the risotto for the life of me, and I went in my pantry and there it was, the Alvario rice. So that's the name of the rice if you guys were wondering what the name of the rice was for the risotto. For my risotto lovers, I'm pretty sure they already knew. I did just put in a dash of Italian seasonings so that the flavor carries through between the risotto, farro risotto style grain and our vegetables. Now that that's cooked down a little bit, time to put in our broccoli. But you see how easy it is when you've already prepared, so you really don't have anything to do. We're just going to toss this around a little bit. And it's kind of steaming, but not really, because it has a little bit more liquid than you would for a steam, but still the same kind of concept. So we're just going to toss the broccoli to get that liquid on it, and when it becomes bright green, we're going to remove it from the heat. Now, when I'm doing broccoli just as a side, I usually remove it from the heat, take it from the container, and put it in an ice bath to stop the cooking. But in this particular instance, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to cook these a little bit longer, and then I'm going to remove it from the heat and cover it and let the residual heat continue to cook it. But you see that bright color? That's what I wanted, this vibrant color, and I want it to have some crunch but not raw. So it just needs to go a little bit longer, and then we'll be ready for our meat. And there's still a little bit of liquid in the bottom. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see if I can get closer. See, there's still a little bit of liquid. So we just want to cook it down a little bit more to get that liquid out, and then we'll just cover it. This is going to be delicious. And I like bright colors when I'm cooking. So that should be just enough. Let me check the broccoli. Let's see. Oops. Still has some crunch, but I think that's enough that we can take it from here. Move it over. It's time for our chicken. Now, you can do your chicken on a grill pan, or just in a regular saute pan like I'm going to. I do have a grill pan, but this is in honor of my papa, so I'm thinking he'd probably want it sauteed. So I'm going to take my little basting brush, because my stove is not level. So I'm just going to brush it to make sure I get the oil up to the front. One of the habits I've gotten into is I don't pick up raw meat. I use tongs to plate it. So we're going to let this warm up some more. I'm going to take my chicken, and I'm going to take it the seasoned side down, which is the presentation side, and take it, I'm going to drag it around so that I can get oil on it. Do the same with the next piece. Third piece, doing the same thing. And then on my last piece. 2 reasons why I do this. 1 is to make sure that there's oil, and 2, to make sure it doesn't stick. Because I'm going to leave it there for a while it cooks. Turn it down to a medium heat. Now remember, we haven't seasoned this side, so we have to season this side. So first I'm going to go in with my ginger. And if you wanted to, you could do both sides. I just don't like touching raw meat. It just freaks me out. So I found this is the easiest way for me to do it without getting my hands dirty. But you can season it however you would like. If you want to do it all at once, you can do that. So this is my turmeric that's going on. And then my salt. And it's not very much salt. Altogether, it may be probably a teaspoon for all 4. I've just been cooking with little salt since I was 17, because my mother had heart problems, and she was on a 2% sodium diet, which she hated. But I learned to cook that way and use other spices to make it taste good so that she would eat. And so it's just the way that I've been eating, and I'm used to it. But again, it's all on you. If you can have more salt and you like more salt, by all means. But I just choose to use less salt and other spices to bring out a wonderful flavor in the food. All right. We can see that it's getting this wonderful yellow around here. It's like opaque, it's turning like a whitish color. That lets you know that that bottom side is cooking up really nicely. And we're gonna let it cook almost all the way through, so we only have to turn it one time. And when we turn it, then we can just let it go, and that'll be it without overcooking. A lot of us overcook chicken, especially chicken breast, because we'll cook it till it's white and then we'll turn it over and cook it forever. Well, if you're cooking it to get that color on this side, on the underside, right? When you flip it over, if you cook it for the same amount of time, it's going to overcook, because remember, it still cooks when you take it off the fire. So you don't want to overcook it. So what I usually do, I cook it until it's white. I don't know if you can see, it's like a yellowish white color, and this is pink. And then I take it and I flip it over, and you see that wonderful color it got from the turmeric. So I won't need to turn it again. The other thing is you want to try to make sure your pieces are about the same, and the same in not only in size but also in depth, so that it will cook evenly. So I'm going to turn my pan, because I know this one, because my stove isn't level, this one hasn't cooked quite as much as the others. So that will also give this one a chance to cook, but at a slower rate, and this one will pick up in this one as well. Let's just turn it all the way. But our dinner is almost done. We just have the chicken, and then we're all set. We can plate it up. I really hope my papa likes this. One thing to keep in mind is you want to make sure your internal temp is 165. If you're new to cooking, you can use a thermometer, what do they call it? A probe. It's a thermometer. I have one that looks like this. You just stick it into the thickest part of the chicken, like so. Hold on. Thanks. Stick it in like so, and it'll tell you if it's ready. So I know my chicken is ready. That was on the actual bottom of the surface, not the actual chicken, but my chicken is ready. I'm gonna turn it off, and when you see it next, it will all be plated. Okay, so this is it all put together. We have our farro with mushrooms that we cook like risotto. We have our vegetables, our broccoli, our carrots, and our onions, and our wonderful turmeric ginger chicken. Enjoy! Oh man. So now for the frozen treat. We're gonna do a shake. A protein shake at that. So I have my little bullet container, Kefir, which is a cultured low-fat milk. It has live probiotics, so sort of like a liquid yogurt. Then I have some frozen peaches, but you can use any fruit you want. You can do fresh or frozen, but I'm gonna use the frozen ones because it'll help chill it. And then we're also gonna add some hemp seed in there and some honey. Just wanted you to see what it all looks like. So you see the white is the kefir, the honey, the hemp seed, and the peaches. I did put some ice cubes in here just to get it churning a little bit better. So we are now going to put the cap on and run it through the Ninja. Just like that, you got a perfect peach smoothie. or shake, whichever you would prefer. Now I'm going to pour this into another vessel, or you could just put the lid that comes with it on and drink it from here. But this is a good healthy drink. And this is the cup I transferred it into. So this is about, it's about 12 ounces that it made, but you can make it in a larger amount. I just wanted to make a single shake. Put it in my pumpkin. Flask.